Good afternoon and welcome on a Friday. Before you get a chance to go out to the box office this weekend, I wanted to come in and give you a quick review of The Creator, as well as just previewing what's going on this weekend at the box office. It is the first weekend in a while where we're going to have a kids movie and we're going to have a horror film as we prepare for the spooky season, and we also have The Creator in a week that's been kind of filled with original sci-fi with No One Will Save You and The Creator, and we're going to talk about The Creator in a second. But the first thing I want to talk about is it's a busy weekend at the box office. So you have some choices out there this weekend, and I'm here to give you a brief update on what's out there. Of course, all the gore aficionados are out and about this weekend. They have to be ready. They're ready for Saw X. So a couple things that are oddly fascinating about the 10th sequel in. It's getting surprisingly great reviews. It's well over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't know if that's a good thing for Saw fans or a bad thing for Saw fans. But this one focuses more on John Kramer. It's not a prequel or a sequel. It's what they're now calling an interquel or an interquel. Um, so basically, it's within the framework of the franchise. It is a sequel, but it takes place at a specific time during the franchise. So, from what I'm hearing, it's between 1 and 2. Of course, Tobin Bell is back, reprising his role as Jigsaw, John Kramer, and he gets full, from what I'm hearing, full display in this one. Usually, Jigsaw or Kramer is behind the scenes pulling the mechanisms, but this one is really about him and about Amanda, played by Shawnee Smith. So I think horror fans are going to be out in force for it. I hope it's what they're hoping for, and I hope the fact that critics like it isn't something where Saw fans go, it's not for me. The other big release besides The Creator this weekend, we have Paw Patrol. Okay, so Unleash Your Powers, Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie, apparently is a Paw Patrol kind of not send up, but kind of a love letter to superhero movies, and all the Paw Patrol members get powers and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's a kids movie, you know, whether or not you have kids and you take them to the movies or you don't take them to the movies. These are always good places for your kids to learn that sometimes we go to the movies and watch our big franchises on the big screen, and hopefully Paw Patrol steps up and actually provides a movie that's good enough to be enjoyed by audiences and good enough for people to pay the money to go see it. I the boys are a big fan. Yeah, everybody knows I have two nephews, and the boys are big fans of the franchise. They watch the Paw Patrol show, and we're going tomorrow. So I'll let everybody know how it is in some comments later. But the main point of this particular show slash quick review, I'm here to talk about The Creator. I saw The Creator last night, which is, of course, Gareth Edwards' new movie. He's the director of Rogue One. He also directed Godzilla, and an underrated kind of cool movie called Monsters. He is a great young director, and he makes the most of the money involved with this. It is being described as an original sci-fi creation. It is being described as an original movie. I'm going to get to the heart of that in a moment, but I do want to give him props. The movie looks beautiful. It's shot beautifully. It's well edited. Special effects are incredible. You can't tell the difference between effects and non-effects. I think the effects are off the chart. It's got an $80 million budget. When you think about giant 2 hour plus effects heavy epics, $80 million is not a lot of money to be spent on a sci-fi effects heavy movie, which this is. So I give him a lot of credit for that. The cinematography is especially amazing with regards to where the film is shot. And Greg Fraser and Oren Sofer deserve a lot of the credit for how beautiful the film looks. Here's where we differ. So, no spoilers in these reviews. I'm trying to be very good about it. And basically, what I'm going to say is, basically, The Creator is kind of like, how do I put this? It's an amalgamation of really good parts. And some of them old tropes, some of them new tropes, but most of them are things you've already seen. And so the initial reaction I had to the movie was that I liked it. I came out, you know, but then I started thinking about it. And I don't know that I liked it as much as I liked all of those other things that I've seen before that I liked in other movies. So you want a cute kid. The creator has that. The child is there's a child character in the movie. You know, John David Washington plays Joshua, calls her Little Sim. He calls her Albie or Alfie because she's an alpha. She's alpha of whatever she is. She's played by Madeline Una Voiles. She's kind of like an every child character. So in many ways, one of the problems that starts with the movie is that it is Grogu from The Mandalorian, or it is David from AI, which is one of my favorite Spielberg movies that gets a lot of grief, but in the end is actually fundamentally a brilliant film by Spielberg taking over the reins for Stanley Kubrick. It has an amalgamation of other parts. It's got at once, I saw it with a friend last night, and they're like, "Well, it's interesting that the humans are hunting the robots," and I'm like, "Unless you've seen Blade Runner, right?" And then it's interesting if, like, that in this particular case, the factions are a Western power that's the United States that's had something happen to its sovereignty, and they are going after AI, and AI has kind of flourished around throughout the world in mostly the Far East. And basically, so you have this kind of weird combination where it looks as if the American government is committing, acts of atrocity, trying to hunt down these robots and hunt down the creator and hunt down this new alpha weapon slash child who, is special, but we don't know why she's special. So it has all of those things, and it has Joshua, who's kind of played by John David Washington, who's kind of in one year. The movie doesn't give him a lot to do except be angry about his situation. He has stuff that's happened to him from the AI uprising that is chronicled early in the movie. He has families that he's lost. He has a wife that he's lost, a child that he's lost, and then he basically gets thrust into the father figure that we've seen in everything from The Last of Us to The Mandalorian. To it's just an amalgamation of parts. And what I find is that I really like the parts. And so I enjoy sci-fi that's crisp and thought provoking. One of the movies that kind of comes to mind for this movie, aside from AI, is another Spielberg movie called Minority Report, in which case Tom Cruise character in that movie is broken and Joshua is very broken. So there are parts of all these other movies that are great sci-fi movies that you love, and they're kind of in a kind of robotic way put onto this chassis of this movie, and the movie is really long. It goes a little bit too long. It has two or three different points where it could have ended. And aside from some interesting casting, Allison Janney against type, all the American soldiers are kind of they're not, they're all kind of displayed in a traditional kind of movie army kind of way where they're all part of a group and they all, have nicknames and they all have kind of fight, against the AI. And it's weird in a time when AI is actually part and parcel of what's going on with the writer's strike. AI here is kind of a nice thing. It's something sentient that just wants to be part of something. So it's ambitious. It's big. It looks beautiful. The action scenes are pretty good. It's solid, but I don't know that it's better than the collection of its parts. It kind of just as the movie progresses, it gets longer, longer, and longer, and it never earns the emotional wallop it wants so desperately to have about finding the sentience and beauty in things, beauty in life, and what life holds. I don't think it gets there, and I don't want to blame John David Washington because I think he's a good actor. I think he does really well. He has one gear that's really well played, but in this movie, he doesn't get a lot to do. Um, but the visuals are stunning. It looks beautiful, and there may be things in it that you really love, and things that that you don't realize are kind like you realize it, but you kind of like, well, I really like that from that movie. So if they're taking it from that movie and they're putting it into this movie, maybe I end up liking it too. I ended up thinking about it more and not liking it as much as I did. And all of the constraints I have about it are it's editing. There's 3 editors working on the movie, which is not a great sign. There is multiple endings, and they kind of get in the middle and they don't know what they want to do. So it's a little wonky. I would recommend it if you're a fan of sci-fi and you really enjoy sci-fi movies and you have a passion for it where you're watching them and you will easily pick up all of the beats that are being thrown down that are probably from better movies. So I wanted to love it more. I didn't. It's ambitious. It's big. It's not. It's not an IP. It's not a sequel. It's not a reboot. And it's not as good, however, as No One Will Save You, which I think is the star sci-fi movie of the week. If you're really looking for a sci-fi movie that sizzles and crackles and pops, that's what I would recommend. But the creator, ambitious, really ambitious, big and huge and sprawling and wonderful aesthetics on display with regards to sci-fi, but they don't. It doesn't earn its heart. So, um, a couple comments. Good afternoon, JW. Loving this. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you. Sean said, "Wow, what's up, brother? Wow, you're early today. I'm early, so you have a chance, Sean. If you want to go to the movies this weekend, if you want to go to a Friday night show, I'm here to let you know what's playing and what I've seen and whether or not I liked it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that very short review of the creator. Again, ambitious, flawed, an amalgamation of parts that doesn't coalesce in quite the way I wanted it to. And it doesn't earn any of the things that you might be like. You might be a little bit obsessed with Grogu, or you might be obsessed with Spielberg's AI or Blade Runner or any of these other movies that have covered this territory, Minority Report. All of these movies have kind of covered this territory about the sci-fi sentience. Now, the interesting thing, again, AI is of the topic right now, and AI, a sentient AI that just wants to live peaceably and do whatever, is an interesting concept, but I don't think it's fulfilled. And I think the military style of it, where it's very into bombing this Asian country that has all of these AI units in it and places in it, it gets really heavy-handed, and to the point where like none of the military characters, who by the way have cybernetic parts or use robots, are at all kind of like there's nobody there you can root for. And it's one of those movies where I wanted to love it more than I did. So that's going to be it for today. There are plenty of movies out there. Go see something. There's movies to watch at home. Especially No One Will Save You on Hulu, which I think is this week's the one movie I would recommend to everybody. It's No One Will Save You, because I think that's the movie that captures all of the sci-fi that you're looking for and actually produces a film that's, while it has an amalgamation of parts, it's something that's never really been done. So thank you for joining me. Short review segment where we took a look at the creator. And again, if it is something where you want it, you love sci-fi, it may be worth your while. It is lengthy, has a lot going on, has a lot on its mind, but it doesn't necessarily coalesce into the full-on sci-fi experience that you may be looking for. But it is original, and we haven't had original in a while. So, but anyway, thanks for joining me. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.